Back to the Blue Hockey Podcast. I'm your host, Jason, along with Chris.
Yo!
And we also have a very special guest on the line, former Blue and former NHLer Craig Janney is with us. Thanks for being with us.
Hello, guys.
I'm so excited. You forgot the most important part, Jason, which is U.S. Hockey Hall of Famer Craig Janney.
Yeah, it's true. There's a very long resume here, so it's like I'm trying to make sure I try the high points and I miss one of the high points. So my apologies there. So we're going to go through a lot of things today with you, Craig. We're going to try a couple of questions about your career, time with the Blues, and also maybe your perspective. We talk about your time in Phoenix, because since you were in there during some of the inaugural years, so I kind of want to see your perspective on hockey in that area, and then also your thoughts on the Stanley Cup finals last year.
You bet, guys. Sounds like good stuff.
Okay.
So for some of the younger listeners who may not be familiar, let's run down the resume to start. The first question I had was, so you were born in Hartford. Were you a Whalers fan or were you a Bruins fan growing up?
An all-in-out Whalers fan. And to this day, like my daughter last year said to me, Dad, how come you always wear sports hats, Red Sox hats, Patriots hats. You never wear Bruins hats. And I go, honey, I didn't root for the Bruins. And, my team was the Hartford Whalers, and for Christmas she bought me a whale hat. So she knows they're my team too.
I love that the Hurricanes have brought back the green whale jerseys and wear them a handful of years. As soon as they went on sale, I bought one. Full disclosure, I have a jersey for every team in the league because I live in hockey jerseys. But the moment I could buy a Hartford jersey, I got it. And now my big dilemma is, who do I put on the back of it? Like, I'm torn between maybe Gordie Howe, maybe Chris Pronger. But if you were going to put your guy on the back of a whale,
oh God, it's easy. I want you guys to answer a trivia question for me. Okay. I'm making this up as I go along. Who, as a 15-year-old, had his idol and got to play against them in a summer league game? With Brian Leach was on that team. We beat the Whalers team in the summer league.
Really?
We had a wagon ourselves. But
that's awesome.
15, he was there, and he was my idol, and he played longer than me career-wise.
That's insane.
And he's still my idol. If I saw him today, I'd be all over. And now he runs a team.
That's insane. That's crazy.
That's the answer. You got an answer for me?
Ron Francis.
Ron Francis.
Yep.
Absolutely.
You got me with who's running a team. I was.
Yeah, I think that's what gave it away.
Yeah, but Ron Francis. That's awesome.
It's funny that name came up because I have a very good friend of mine who was actually on the show a few weeks ago, who's from Pittsburgh, huge Penguins fan, and we were talking about the fact that you were going to be on the show today, and I mentioned that you were from Hartford. He's like, "Oh man, you got to ask him about the Ron Francis trade." And I was like, "I don't want to upset the guy."
Oh Jesus. Well, at that time when they made the trade, I was playing already.
Yeah.
So as far as I'm concerned, it was a great trade because we were playing against Ronnie's teams. Yeah, we got him in a different division, face him later type thing, and which we did unfortunately a couple times in the semis. So, but they had a great team, fun team.
So as a kid who grew up in the Northeast, you played at Boston College, with a Hobie Baker finalist in '87, and you started your career in Boston, part of the team that went to the finals in '88 and '90. When you got traded to the Blues in '92, going from a kid who was in the Northeast, spent your early years in college years in Boston, early pro years in Boston. When you find out you're going to St. Louis, is it a bit of, am I going to be living in farmhouses and hay bales? Because I always feel like the Midwest, aside from like Chicago and maybe Denver, gets a rap of like it's flyover country. What were your thoughts on St. Louis before you got here and then once you were here?
Yeah, it's a good question. We had played there a few times. I'd probably played, 3-4 years by then?
Mm-hmm.
So I had known the city and always had a good time, So I was open to it. And, basically, Chris and Jason, you have no say. I mean, you're on a plane.
Right.
I was on a plane. The day I heard I had a trade, I was on the plane that afternoon crying like a baby. Because your first trade is always the tearjerker.
Did you have a feeling that it was coming?
No one wants it. No, not at all. It hit me like a sledgehammer. have you been to the Garden over there? The famous restaurant Fours?
I haven't, no.
Yes.
Well, there's a famous restaurant across the street called Fours where everyone hangs out, real sports bar, all Boston sports, terrific stuff. And I was over there crying, and my girlfriend was coming to pick me up, and I got my bag of equipment and my sticks, and just heartbroken. And that's just the way it is. I mean, it hardens you up pretty quick when you get traded. And after the first one, it's a business.
Was it easier
And I
for
thought
you?
St. Louis was fantastic. I was more afraid of the Oates Hull thing and all that than I didn't have time to think about where I was going to eat dinner.
And I was going to ask about that was it easier for you to make the transition coming over with a teammate like Stefan Quintal? And what was it like walking into a building knowing that, you've always been a playmaker, but you got traded for the guy who was, Brett Hull's playmaker? Was there a bit of shit?
It really did help coming with Steph because we were the same year draft picks too, and we came up to the Bruins at the same time, so we knew each other. But it was not easy going to St. Louis, to be honest, in hindsight, because you're expected to, Hully and Oates. I mean, that was a tough act to follow, and then it turns out, as you guys know, which I'm sure those questions are coming next. And they're fine, guys. Don't lay off those questions. It was hard because I didn't play with Brett really much.
Right.
Except on the power play, which we had an unbelievable power play. I'd put our power play up against anyone's in the world. I don't care who.
Agreed. I totally agree.
Nelson Emerson, Jeff Brown, Brendan Shanahan, Brett Hull, and me. I mean, we had a great power play. But not playing with them 5-on-5, I think, agitated him. I certainly didn't have a say in it. And and then it turns out Shanny and I just really connected, and it worked out that way. We were hoping to have two scoring lines, but we never really did pick up another quality center, like offensive, that kind of held us back.
And I agree with you on that. And I always thought that, obviously the chemistry that you and Brendan had on the ice was apparent because you guys clicked really well as a duo. And you kind of made a mention to it. Do you think there was not animosity, but almost like a little bit of jealousy from Hall of well, where's my guy?
I don't know if it was jealousy because let's be honest, he scored 70 that year with Ron Wilson as a center. So that's the guy who can score goals. And no offense to Willie, because Willie was a hell of a player, but he's a PK guy.
Yeah, and
he did it. He got 70 still. It's pretty amazing stuff. I mean, that shows what a goal scorer he was. He's the best goal scorer I've ever seen. Bar none.
That was going to be one of my
Bar
questions.
None.
In going down the stats and looking at the 93 season where you led the team with 106 points, that's 5 more than Brett. Was Brett the most natural goal scorer that you ever played on a team with?
He's the best I've ever seen, bar none. To me, a goal scorer is someone who was in tight, can have a quick release and go over the shoulder. That's Brett Hull.
Yeah.
A lot of other guys got to score down low. And in this day and age, Hully would still get his 50, 60 goals. I guarantee he would. Because he can go up top.
I always say that, like, with Brett, you knew when he was in the slot, he was going to score. And I look at players now like Ovechkin, and I always say that the sign of greatness is you know where that player's going to go, but you still can't stop him from doing it and scoring. And Brett was that way in the slot. And it just seemed like if he
was so smart.
Yeah. He was
the smartest guy I've ever seen. He'd float in. He never stopped moving, and he'd time it where he would be open when you could pass while moving. He was a genius. Those guys are geniuses. All those top guys are just amazing what they could do. You should have saw Brett and Pratt. I don't know if you ever saw us practice back in the day when you were kids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Brett Hull was by far was the best practice player I ever saw. Highly skilled, passed the puck as good as OC and I when he wanted to. But that wasn't his job. In practice, he would pass the puck. And he'd throw sauce left and right. He was that good and that confident. And he's one of the top 5 guys I've ever seen. It's funny
that you mentioned his hands being as soft as they are, because that's high praise coming from a guy who was voted the softest hands in hockey by the Alumni Association.
That was a nice honor. Believe me, I've been living off of that when I go to alumni stuff.
Speaking of, before I forget about this, speaking of alumni stuff, so the Blues have had a Winter Classic and a All-Star alumni game, and number 15 has been noticeably absent from both of those. Who do I need to call to get you to Minneapolis for New Year's Eve to be in the Winter Classic alumni game?
Hey, I was talking to my daughter about what do you do on a podcast? I didn't know what the rules are, but I've never been called, and I think
there's
a lot of
no
that
rules.
has to do with, let's be honest, about what transpired off the ice in St. Louis.
Yeah, but I don't think that's so long ago.
I was around their offices that when I came in for the final, the second game, Chris, when I came over and said hi to you.
Right.
Oh no, I was with my daughter that game. But they brought us back for Game 6 in case I actually did get an invite, and which shocked me, And we went down to the offices to see, to check on people. I went to say hi to some of the people who still work there that I remembered, and there wasn't one picture of Shanny or me in the whole building. So
you know what?
That says something,
I've noticed that, and I've always wondered if that was by design or not. Because you guys
you would think
such a huge role in that team.
I agree. He was, especially Shanny. Let's be honest. He was a huge star there.
Well, let's not discount the.
No, I know, but not to have our. I just don't understand the whole, Shanny and I got over it. Why can't fucking everyone else get over it? Oh, excuse my language.
Oh, you're fine.
Oh, you're fine.
Why can't...
The good thing about...
Oh, all right. Why can't...
We say whatever we want.
Yeah.
All right, good. I was wondering what the formalities were.
Oh, you're good.
But, whatever you want to say it.
But I was just shocked that there was not one picture up of Shanny, to be honest. I wasn't thinking of myself, but... I was, and that's the reason I think I don't get too many phone calls from St. Louis.
That's interesting. The ownership is very different. Yeah, the ownership is very different than
from then till now. There's been a lot of change, and I'm telling you, man, I am desperate to see you in a blue note one more time. We got to make it happen for the Winter Classic this year.
Well, we'll see. I was really thrilled that they invited me to the Game 6, and I would love to visit. It's so much fun to see the fans, see the guys. We all miss it. You know that. Everyone says it.
Of course.
And it's true. We wouldn't say it if it wasn't true.
So, of your time in St. Louis, I think there's one goal that really, at least as a fan, stands out quite a bit. A couple months back, we did a recap of the top overtime playoff goals in Blues history. And to me, you have one that is in the top five. And I would say aside
it's not
from
the top moment.
It's not the top because it is
That was a good night.
It is your goal and Pat Maroon's goal last year in Game 7 against Dallas because they were both series clinching goals that to me are 1A and 1B. And that's obviously.
Oh, that's nice of you guys to say.
Obviously, we're talking about the goal against Chicago in '93. When that happened,
just to see Belfort smash his stick.
Oh my God! So I was in. That was the best game I've ever been to in person. And the crazy part
was that a great game or what?
Yeah, that was
that entire series, but
game.
that game coming off of two shutouts by Cujo, and you guys you could just feel that you guys were going to win that game, no matter what happened. So talk us through that whole series. Did you see Belfort and Hawley collide behind the net? Or did you just look at it and be like, holy shit, the puck's on my stick. I got to fire it at the net.
I didn't see anyone in the net. And I just ripped it right when ripped it. I wouldn't say ripped it. Sucker didn't hit the back of the net. But that's what I always tell everyone. I lead the league in goals that never hit the net, and that was another one of them.
Do you have that?
It was a great play by Hawley. Now he wouldn't get away with anything.
No, it's true. That would have been blown dead. Do you have the puck from that game?
Guys, I'm going to break something to you. I don't have one puck of my career.
Oh, you're kidding me.
Nothing. Oh, man.
I really don't. Sorry, Chris.
Oh, man. No, and I'll piggyback off of what Chris has been saying. So I'll just date myself here. So when that happened, I was a 10-year-old Jason just getting into hockey, watching hockey. And that's, along with kind of what happened last year, that's one of the moments where I couldn't imagine you guys. I can tell you exactly where I was at, exactly what I was doing, and the reaction I had, because I'll be honest, and this is me just saying it because you're on the phone or whatever, but that was like the moment where I'm like, that's what I want to, I want to play hockey now. And just being that excited, being around people that are excited. And but Paul, obviously, they call it, obviously now Enterprise Center, the place at Hallville, but those teams are what got people excited again, because after the Blues were obviously in the finals for the first few years of their existence, they kind of had years where we're in the playoffs, but just kept stalling out, or just ownership issues caused them not to have a fantastic team, or just barely have a team at times. But
exactly,
just kind of saying what Chris has been saying, just that's definitely for people in our age. That's the goal that you. Maybe until last year, that's the goal you look to is you go back and look up YouTube highlights, and that's a goal you get, and you still get that same excitement, feeling it, excited feeling that when you see it happen, no matter it's coming, and you just see Belfort smash the stick, and then that just feels like, oh man, I hate Chicago now. And
it's such an iconic moment in that rivalry.
Yeah,
it really was. I think it made it a rivalry.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it reestablished it, because for so long one team was up and one team was down, and even you look at where you guys finished that year, you were only one game above 500 at the end of the year. You were fourth in the North, and I think that everyone picked Chicago just to roll over the Blues, and it's. I've always said that there's certain rivalries in sports, and the Blues and Blackhawks are one of those, where it doesn't matter what the records are, because those teams just pure straight don't like each other. And they're going to get after it. Yeah. And it doesn't matter if you're the bottom team or the top team, you're going to get that team's best game every night.
I agree. I think it's thing that's just bred into the players who come there, that this is a team you hate. This is who we got to beat every night.
It truly is. So,
yeah. Go ahead, Chris.
The last thing that I would ask about your time in St. Louis was you got the, we'll say, privilege to play a little bit under one of the most villainous people in St. Louis Blues history, and that would be Mike Keenan.
Yeah. He ruined the team, man. I don't know if you were following that team at all.
We
had a team that could have won. We had a team that had a chance to win the cup if he left it alone.
I
remember who was on that team. Steve Duchesne.
Yep.
Duchesne, McGinnis, Housley.
Yep.
I think we were all. That was our main D guys. We had some defensive stalwarts too. Zombo was still there, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Murray Barron.
Murray Barron was Brett Hedican. I think he might have been coming up at the time.
Brett Hedican, Brownie.
Yeah.
No, they were gone. No, those guys were gone because they went to Van a little earlier.
Okay.
But they had a good team, and we had Holly Shanny, Tikkanen. I mean, we had a lot of guys, man. And
yeah, you really did.
You're right, Chris. He tortured us. He won on me. I'll admit it. Right here on the air.
And that's what I was going to ask you. Is it always seemed from an outsider standpoint, and you hear stories through the years, that he was one of those guys that would play favorites. And if you ended up on his shit list, for whatever reason he decided, that he would make your life a living hell.
Oh, it was, no doubt, man. I mean, he chased me out of there. I mean, that's when the personal problems were happening too, but he literally, at the end of torturing me for 2.5 weeks, I'll say this, I've never said it before. We were in Winnipeg, and I'm getting bag skated again, not playing again. And Teddy Sater was the assistant coach. Remember Ted?
Yeah.
Wonderful guy. Had some head coaching jobs, but was more an assistant coach because he's so nice. And he was bag skating me, and I go, well, you know what, Teddy? I've had enough. I'm getting off, and I'm taking off. And he goes, good luck. Good luck to you, he said, CJ. Because I went back to my hotel and took off. And Mike comes up to me, though, prior to getting on my cab. Like, I'm not going on the bus. I'm waiting for my cab. And he goes, I want you to play for me again. And I go, what? He goes, I want you to play for me again. I have too many friends on that bus where I don't want to disturb what's going on here anymore. You do not want me playing for you, obviously. So just trade me. And I'm going to take off, and you trade me. Let me know when my trade comes up. And to his credit, he goes, okay. And he goes, the whole time I was gone, I don't know how long I was gone, maybe a month before they traded me to San Jose, maybe 3 weeks. He paid me the whole time.
Well, that's good.
He knew I know, but he knew. He was like, Jesus, I'm hoping he's like, I tortured this guy to death. Last thing I can do is not dock his pay. But it was an awful experience. He did it to Cujo, did it to Shanny, did it to Phil Housley. I mean, there's a long list of, those guys are Hall of Famers that he did it to. Terrible guy.
He just did a podcast about a month ago with another Blues podcast. And if memory serves, it's the first interview he's done in St. Louis since he was fired. And it's amazing how much he passes the buck and plays the victim on, I didn't do any of that stuff. It wasn't my control. Like, they really drilled down on him on the Gretzky fiasco. And he makes it sound like it was completely out of his control on if he was going to be able to bring Gretzky back or not.
Well, what's the great saying? Absolute power corrupts absolutely. And he had every power in the book there.
Do you think that was the ultimate problem, was that he was coach and GM? There was no one to check.
Oh, absolutely. Power. If he had someone overrunning him a little bit, it wouldn't have been as bad. And they knew that too right when it started. I mean, there were some people in the offices who were as disgusted as we were, you know.
Got it.
Is there, okay, I was going to say one more question about the Mike Keenan era, I guess, when you had to play with him. And obviously we talked about a little bit his reputation with players and such. When you knew he was coming in, did you already know, like, some players around the league? Did they kind of, like, you know, like, hey, this is what you're getting into? Or did he already have this?
Brian Leach called me the day it happened and said, good luck. You don't stand a chance.
Really?
I go, what do you mean? He goes, you are not the type of player he likes.
Really?
You're going to have a hard time. And I go, oh, jeez.
And you're talking about Brian Leach, also another Hall of Famer.
Yeah, Hall of Famer who he tortured during their Stanley Cup season.
Yeah, because he came right after they won the Stanley Cup and came to the Blues after winning
remember he
in
signed
New York
a big
for
ticket.
years. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So
yeah, I was just kind of curious. Go ahead, Chris.
You were lucky enough, after San Jose, you go to Winnipeg, who become the Phoenix Coyotes. And it seems like from the inception of this team, the argument has always been, can hockey work in the desert? What was your time like playing in those inaugural teams? And what's your opinion now on if that team can last where they're at, or do you think that they're inevitably doomed to be relocated back to, let's say, Quebec or somewhere else?
Well, my experience there, I'll give you two different experiences. Because I lived in Arizona for 20 years before I moved to outside Chicago now. And as a player, we went in there from Winnipeg. It was incredible. We played downtown though.
Yeah, you played in America West Arena.
It was the best nights. Yeah, we lived where we worked where the basketball team played.
Yep.
And we had to sell out every night, but we had one end that was terrible. There was bad seating.
You had the overhang,
but it was
over
loud.
the
It was raucous. Yeah, you're right. It was loud, raucous. People, they were into it. I thought those 2 years there were some of the best years I've seen. I mean, we had great teams that underperformed though, and talent-wise, which was a shame. They kind of